The world is evolving so fast. People sometimes get lost. These days, the wellness and healing actually helps people to ground themselves. So they are finding a new way to basically get the peace back inside themselves.
After the COVID pandemic, the world of tourism is making a very strong comeback. But there is no denying that the pandemic has really had a fundamental change on the global tourism market. One is that global travelers are more and more looking for experiences and not just tourist sites. We have with us today a seasoned hotel consultant and a global real estate developer to talk about why this is the perfect time for Korea to show off its treasure trove of unique experiences. And foremost in her mind is Korea's ways of wellness and healing. So to talk about what that entails, our globalist today is Lee-kyung, founder of Polaris Advisor. Welcome to the Globalist.
Thank you very much. I have only watched the Arirang TV from hotel rooms when I was abroad. And I was actually watching this TV so often. And thank you for inviting me to this show.
Well, thank you for watching. It is the fact that in hotel rooms around the world, the Arirang has a presence.
Yes.
So we're very glad to hear you say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, but we are intrigued, though. Wellness and healing. What does that mean when you're talking about hotel experiences?
These days, the wellness and healing actually helps people to ground themselves because the world is evolving so fast. People sometimes get lost. Before, they go to church and pray, temples, blah, 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 but these days, sometimes it doesn't work, so they are finding a new way to basically get the peace back inside themselves. That's why. But then, this is not a new phenomenon at all. In our 5,000 years of history, that has been existing. For example, in our ancestors, the shamanistic ritual was so present, and Korean traditional medicine was there. So there are a lot of things that has been already built in our DNA throughout, for example, clothing, housing, and food. It has been all there.
Just to give us a more clear-cut idea of what we're talking about, could you tell us some examples of what you're talking about?
Sure. This wellness is basically coming back to me and try to live the world with my own philosophy, but usually are swayed by external forces, like, some kind of, what people think of me. So therefore, coming back to me and have a life driven by myself that requires a lot of a removal of exterior prejudice or opinions.
It feels like it means I'm meditating, you
Yes.
know, like closing myself off from the busy world outside. Meditation is included.
Of course, meditation, sound bowl, sound healing these days, yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah. There are a lot of different healing modalities. I call it as healing modalities. There are a lot of them actually that has been developed to fit the people these days.
But when you think about that in terms of tourist sites, tourist experiences in Korea, the thing that really sort of pops in my mind is maybe temple stay.
Yes.
Is that sort of like maybe an experience that incorporates this kind of wellness?
Absolutely. I think the temple stay is a very interesting thing because it was not created for this kind of purpose. It was created to actually give more hotel rooms to the FIFA Olympic Games.
Yes.
But then when one goes to temple and experience this, they actually get to live like a monk. So all
Follow the
monk.
temple ways.
Yes.
For a
So,
few
for
days.
example, the gist of the meditation is basically being mindful. Mindful means focus on present, not the past, not the future. So, therefore, temple stay is one of the original format of this wellness retreat in Korea. I say it, and so yes, that's a perfect example in Korea.
And it has actually been very successful. I
It
mean,
has
people
been.
actually outside of Korea, non-Koreans have talked to me a number of times
Yes.
about wanting to go
Yes.
to a temple.
Yes.
왜냐하면 꿈도 다름없는 똑같은 부처님입니다라고 믿고 말씀을 드릴 테니까
I also get that questions from my friends overseas, and how can I get the reservation? But the problem is that they are not really doing a lot of good promotion. So sometimes when I try to book a temple stay, I have to go through different layers to get to that point.
Yes, when it's popular, it's always more difficult.
Yes.
But there are obviously other wellness tourism experiences in Korea that have actually not been tapped.
I see, besides the temple stay, I see just the small scale of the wellness retreat, not only providing a limited healing modalities like a sound healing focused or drinking tea focused. These days, more yogi came to Korea, so therefore yoga focused retreat. But it's interesting to me because these are, to me, it's like more of a mom and pop scale. Compared to overseas. Overseas, actually, high net worth people who actually were very sick but recovered by the alternative medicine. So they, by recovering the health process, they think that they want to share this with other people. That is one of the major motivation of overseas wellness retreat. While in Korea, individuals started that journey.
I see.
Yeah.
But maybe it is because of sort of the mom and pop characteristic that it's not very well known outside of Korea.
Correct.
I mean, when you talk about yogi, I mean, people talk, of course, when they talk about a yoga retreat, they think of India.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
Alternative medicine, they think of China. You
Yes.
know, they don't think of Korea. So what
Absolutely.
does Korea have to offer that is unique?
I think Korea has to offer something created by Korean DNA. So, for example, this is what I share with interview with a leisure group in England. First, Korea has a lot of sacred lands. The sacred lands means natural power, natural healing power from the ground. So, for example, I went to Gochang,
Okay.
and Gochang is known for actually a lot of Stonehenges.
Gochang is, for our viewers who don't know what Gochang is, in North Jeolla, for instance, which
Okay.
is in the south, sort of south of Seoul, but
Yeah.
in the western side.
Correct. So near this whole Stonehenge area, there is a very distinctive Stonehenge, which is the biggest Stonehenge. But that is not tomb, actually. That's to pray to the god. So therefore, one of our friends asked to actually sit within the Stonehenge. And I tried it. Within in 15 minutes, it was amazing thing happened. My friend's headache is gone, and my eye pressure came down. So I said, "What is this about?" And the guide was explaining, this is the land power, the healing power from the land.
From the earth from
Yes,
itself.
yes, yes. So we have a lot of those sacred lands, and sacred land is best place to actually build a wellness retreat because natural healing power is the greatest means for such things. So Korea has a lot of sacred lands, and also in our life, all this honor or effort to try to be in harmony with nature, therefore trying to save the earth, which we are talking about, is already built in. So Korean traditional clothes, hanbok, we have 5 colors, 오방색. That actually means the fire, earth, wood, those kind of things, right? That we are trying to harmonize ourselves with the cosmic energy. And if you look at Hanok, our traditional house, actually what we call as a carbon footprint, a reduction of carbon footprint has been already practiced at that time, because Hanok is built actually by being lifted from the earth. That means that earth excavation was not needed at that time. That's like carbon footprint.
Yes. So you're not digging into the
Exactly.
land, but allowing housing above land.
Yes. A lot of countries, like the U.S. and other countries, are trying to build a building in that way these days by using the modular construction. But we already have practiced like many, many thousand years ago.
You also talk about, in addition to the Korean traditional houses, you talk about Jisan, which is the mountain.
Right.
You have been fascinated by Jisan.
Yes.
Why? And how do you propose packaging that differently?
Yeah. Our mountains are just great. For example, mountains in Gangwon, it has a strong yang.
Yin and yang, right?
Yeah. So it's very, so if you need to recharge yourself, right, the energy, then you go to Gangwon-do. And then Jisan, that mountain has energy of kind of embracing like a mother. So it has a different energies.
All these mountains have
yes.
different types.
The reason why I'm fascinated by Jisan is that we call it Jisan, but it's actually mountain of wisdom.
Mountain of wisdom. Where
Yeah.
does that come from?
It comes from some kind of myth that is built into that, the mountain. So the spirit that kind of embraces whoever coming to the mountain to rest and heal. There is such a gesture. So I look at the Jisan as like, okay, Jisan means basically nothing to me, but that if I call that mountain as a mountain of exquisite wisdom, then there is that kind of power coming from underground. And if I build, like for example, sanctuary of lifetime wisdom, that we are sometimes lost what our life purpose is, then basically invite those people to go through the spirit of the Jisan and then offer respective food and healing modalities and those kind of things. There's a big synergy between the power underneath the land and above the land. So that's why I see the Jisan is a very fascinating place to build a Korean wellness retreat.
Wow. It seems like a very fascinating way to promote and to foster
Yes.
Healing centers. But you talk about that most of it being very mom and pop, which means they only have a limited amount of funds or
Yes.
resources.
Yes.
Is it possible to build these kind of resources with this, or do we need a global hotel chain, or how can you capitalize on this kind of positive energy?
The global chains, because of their DNA, it's hard for them to get into this kind of field. They can adapt some of the healing modalities in their spa and offer. But I think this wellness retreat can be started by individual as long as there's some capital provided, because wellness retreat doesn't have a lot of rooms. Let's say probably 20 to 50 rooms compared to like 300 rooms. So there's a less capital. And the wellness retreat is usually created outside Seoul where the land is cheaper. So there is in general, there's less capital involved. But then the hurdle to try to start this kind of thing in Korea is that people don't know what this is yet.
So the marketing aspect.
Exactly, especially the financial guys. Wellness retreat is more advanced format of the hotel, so there's like mindset is not ready from an investor perspective. So that's kind of a hurdle that I see in Korea.
So it's while you might think that an international chain might be easier, it's not. And it's better if you are able to do it yourself, but then there are
Yes.
these difficulties.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk about your global experiences, especially with global hotel chains. You have opened hotel chains around the world. What was the one that sort of sticks out at you?
Oh, there's one actually, which is in Manhattan.
Manhattan.
There is a hotel right at the Times Square of Manhattan, which is called Crowne Plaza. That's like 47-story high building right next to Lehman Brothers and Morgan Stanley. I was in charge of rebranding that hotel as a new kind of Crowne Plaza. So at the time, New York is a very different world. So therefore, I have to hire hospitality interior designer. I have to manage the shareholder. At the time, it was Morgan Stanley and New York Investment Fund, and those are very aggressive funds. And there was a hard deadline. Hotel has to be under operation while renovation was happening. And I have to hire a construction company in New York is a mafia, basically. And there's a union in the construction industry. So therefore, I was juggling
You're basically a project manager.
Yeah, so I had to deliver this, so that hotel has to reopens on time. So I was playing like 10 balls at a time, and I cannot drop any one ball because it will impact the opening date.
Yeah.
In that complex situation, when we got into the construction, as you know, Times Square, Manhattan, a lot of traffic, a lot of people, it's really hard to even bring the one construction truck. And get the construction waste in and out. So therefore, we have to always juggle with the time. So all this kind of challenges, I delivered it. But then in the world of the mafia, the construction mafia, they always try to sneak in more costs. So I have to review that paper every night to make sure that they don't overcharge us.
That sounds like a dangerous job.
I know.
It sounds like a dangerous job.
I couldn't sleep at the time, but I delivered it. I finished everything. But then what actually added to on top of this picture is that Lehman Brothers came down at that time.
Oh, it was right around that time.
Right around that time, in the middle of the construction. So the whole atmosphere was very eerie.
Yeah.
The delis are closing down because they are bankrupting. Then TV crews are all around the block. But then I had to conduct the construction renovation. So
It was a very bad time to be constructing.
it was
things.
very surreal.
Yeah.
But then, after finishing everything, I handed out all the keys to the general manager, and that was the happiest moment. So that's
I can imagine.
Yeah.
How long did that project take?
That's about 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It could have been faster if we shut down the whole hotel.
That's the situation you were given. You
Yes.
just had to do it.
Yes.
So with those experiences under your belt, when you look at the hotel scene in Korea, what do you see?
To be honest, I think the hotel industry is behind, which means that I don't take it as a negative thing. I take it as a positive thing because we have a lot of things to do.
The potential to get much better.
Much better and more exciting product. So therefore, if you look at the hotels, before COVID in Korea, in Seoul, There's no distinctive hotel that actually gives a strong impression in your mind. Everything looks similar and same, which means that in order to have advanced the hotel industry, there got to be different various types of hotel. And then when hotel market is mature, hotel is traded. But Korea, that activity is not that much existing. Yeah, because there are not many hotels to trade. So I think that's the kind of status at this point. But what I am hopeful is that incorporating the wellness is such a strongest force in the world right now, and with that wellness incorporated into hotel industry, I think Korea can have more innovative hotel product to attract the foreign visitors.
And diversify away from Seoul and the metropolitan.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Seoul, Busan, Jeju versus other cities, a lot of hotels are concentrated in this area. There is more of a mom and pop, show. If we can kind of balance these two parts, I think then tourism industry will benefit hugely. Yeah.
That's also, I mean, one of the things that the tourism industry is into is really trying to work where the travel benefits the country. And I think maybe diversification away from Seoul and the urban areas will have that impact.
Absolutely. There are so many jewels outside Seoul, Busan, Jeju, which are not even known to Koreans.
Not even known to Koreans,
yes. Yes. So this is the time to explore such, jewels.
Let's take a peek into your wellness experience. Where do you go when you need wellness and healing, when you need to shut yourself off from this complicated outside world?
I actually search for where sacred lands is, because I want to experience the natural healing power. If I don't experience, I cannot persuade other people. So I find, some mountains and some kind of spots like near Tongyang area,
which
like
is
Hansan-do.
so very south.
Yeah. So I go everywhere I can find.
Also, I mean, you talk about the relationship to the land, but can this kind of wellness be manufactured? Like, for example, in an urban environment like Seoul, where sacred land is very difficult to find.
Absolutely.
How can you do wellness and healing in Seoul?
I think these days technology is one of the benefit that we have. So therefore, there's like machines and frequencies that kind of neutralize your energy.
Oh. So technology
is there. So for example,
technology stopping technology from getting to you.
Exactly, because we have so many gadgets with us, right? The phone or whatever computer. There is some kind of wavelength that is not really helping our body, like a 전자파. So there is a technology that neutralizes that 전자파, the electric wave.
Waves.
Yeah. So there's so many kind of this kind of technology available, but at the same time, I want to actually point out very important thing. Yoga, meditation, there's misconception. People think that those can be done in a very quiet place where there's no noise. No, meditation can be done in a bus. Meditation can be done in the subway. It's a matter of how I'm being mindful and focus on the present moment.
So if you were planning and opening a wellness center, let's say both in the city and maybe outside of the city, what kind of ideal center would you open?
I prefer at this point actually outside Seoul.
Yeah. Okay.
Where 4 seasons can be experienced. And there are different energy coming from, winter and summer, fall and spring. So I would pick somewhere in a remote place. So therefore, I prefer, like Hansan-do, for example.
Hansan-do.
Yeah, near Tongyang.
Near Tongyang, which is also sort of an island off on the south side of the peninsula.
Exactly. Or Maisan, Jisan, I would pick those kind of area.
What is Hansan-do?
Hansan-do is where the General Lee Sun-shin was born. And it's like a land which has very tranquil energy. So therefore, I think that's one of the perfect place to leave everything behind and focus myself.
Do you think, you're not just for Koreans, but for non-Koreans, is this an option? I mean, there's a language trying to get there. I mean, it's not an easy, simple process.
Of course, but then amazingly, wellness retreat, the wellness travelers are more global species. Because gist of the activity is inner work. Inner work doesn't really require language. It's more of a driven by energy. So, for example, I go to Thailand or I go to Bali. They're not fluent in English, but because of their spiritual power, energy power is so strong, I get healed by not talking to them that much. For example, by doing breath work. Yeah.
So the issue is not the transportation or the language, it's the knowledge that this kind of experience exists.
Right.
Which people outside need to know.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we hope that your presence and, in the future, this problem will be eased and we'll see a lot more global travelers coming to Korea.
I really hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it for me. I will be back next week with another globalist who's putting Korea on the map. Sun Jie out.